No, I was predicting that we were going to lose 2-0 to Hearts at Tynecastle, and that was happening. That was on. Last kick of the ball, deep into injury time, last kick of the ball. Big Chermiti, who can't score when we want him to score, he comes along and just ruins it for me with a last minute consolation. Made no difference to the game whatsoever, but it's just his second man. And then I'm saying that we might win 2-0. We might win 2-0 tomorrow night against St Mirren. That's what I'm saying in my preview pod. I wasn't wanting to predict a score because I thought it was a really tough game. I wasn't really sure how it was going to go, but I thought a sensible prediction, I said. My words were a sensible prediction would be 2-0 to Rangers. And it was 2-0 to Rangers. I mean, Jack Butland even saves the penalty. It's definitely going to be 2-0 to Rangers. No, it's 2-1. 2-1. They just annoy me all the time. A terrible night. Terrible night. How you doing, folks? Welcome to your Fat Egg immediate post. Rangers having begun the calendar year 2025 under Philip Clement here at Ibrox with a 3-0 victory over Celtic. Celtic, who then failed to beat us at any point over 90 minutes in the calendar year 2025, have ended the calendar year 2025 with a home victory against St Mirren, a club who we are tonight beating for the first time in the calendar year 2025. The club who got rid of Philip Clement, they saw him off. I think Stephen Robinson's also got Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's scalp, isn't it? Gio's last game was a one each in Paisley. I think Stephen Robinson was St Mirren manager then. Gio's scalp will be a lot hairier than Philip Clement's, I would imagine. So maybe it's quite fitting after us losing an away league game for the first time in the calendar year 2025 at Tynecastle the other week in our last ever away game of the calendar year 2025, that we tonight beat the team who were the one to beat us away from home in the league previous to Hearts, and that was St Mirren on Boxing Day 2024. We won. Rangers beat St Mirren 2-1. That's what I'm trying to say. Reaction pod coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet every Friday 9 p.m, every Sunday 9:30 p.m. The flagship show live on the Gersnet YouTube channel and available thereafter on all good streaming platforms. Sponsored by that. I'm also sponsored by the second festive shop, the second festive period shop that you're going to do. Very different from the first one. I don't know, I hope you're not like me, but in terms of the fact that I'm morbidly obese, so what I'll do, even myself, despite being really basically unhealthy and loving my booze and loving my food, even I will cut back from mid-November up until basically Christmas Eve. To make room, just to make room, give myself the psychological excuse, if not a real physical excuse, to properly beast into it at Christmas and New Year. So I'm still eating as much as is required, but a bit more exercise and no booze, I think, since mid-November until Christmas Eve. But before Christmas Eve, just before Christmas Eve, you'll go for that wee shop, the Christmas shop. You're getting your Christmas dinner and all that. I'll just get 4 beers, I think. I'll just 4 kind of hazy IPAs, as long as there's some sort of infusion in them, not 5% volume, alcoholic volume. Because really, the problem with beers I have found in my last 8 weeks of being really, really healthy is that it's just empty calories, really. Beer's just empty calories. You want alcoholic content? Get a nice single malt. Get a nice single malt or something like that. And I'll just have the occasional beer just to wash that down. That'll do me fine. Maybe a wee packet of crisps. It'll be nice. It'll be nice with a bit of turkey. It'll be nice to have a wee carrot or two, maybe the odd potato, a single profiterole perhaps, one single wee ball of chocolate, and that'll be me. It'll be fantastic. Are you getting champagne? Are you getting cava or something like that? Something fizzy for the table on Christmas Day, and you're having a wee sip. That's going right up my nose. I think I might be drunk. I think I might actually be drunk in that one glass of fizz there. And within about 12 hours, by the time it gets to Boxing Day, you're like, just gives me your crisps. Have you eaten all the McCoys? There's a bit of McCoys left. I've only had about 16 packets of crisps in the last hour. I'm dying here. I'm absolutely starving. Get me more beer. You just into a pub and you pick your head under the nearest pump and just like put it on here and just charge the card. And so the second shop of the festive, the pre-Hogmanay shop is like, I just get 2 steak pies. I get me a chicken. Had turkey last week. Just get me a whole chicken. But you better get me 2 whole chickens, because I'm used to turkey-sized portions now. And it just like 48 cans of McEwen's Export as well. It's just all about the volume. I just want the liquid volume, never mind the alcoholic volume. It's a bit different. Just like Rangers beginning of 2025-2026 season, a bit different from how we're looking at the halfway point, the 19th game in the league tonight, the halfway point, and things are looking a lot better, a lot rosier for Rangers these days. I'm sponsored by the Second Christmas Shop, and I'm going to throw in a third. I know, it's look, the timestamp. I've timestamped it. If you're watching this, like maybe lunchtime on Hug Money, I'll have the timestamps up by that point, and if you just go down and you look at the one that says intro, that's the proper. No, I've done the intro. I started after the intro. At some point, I'll say starting 11 or, the first half. One of the headlines down there. If you want to go straight to the football stuff, the actual report of the game, you can do that. But I think I spend a lot of time talking about sponsors for the podcast. So I think it's only fair. One last go at it to talk about. It's the last pod, the last Fat Egg pod, you'll be glad to hear, of 2025. Why should it be any less verbose than the other 364 pods I've done this year? So I always talk about sponsorship. I might as well talk about my favourite advert, my favourite commercial of 2025, which was the half-time advert for Under Armour in the Champions League final. The Champions League final coverage, and was it TNT? I think I've recorded the TNT coverage. Always try to record the Champions League final, biggest game in club football. And it was for Achraf Hakimi. It was Achraf Hakimi who was sponsored by Under Armour. And Achraf Hakimi had just scored the first goal in the first half. He scored the opening goal in what would be the most dominant performance ever in the Champions League final, or European Cup final, the biggest game in European club competition every year. And this is the first time that any side has won it by 5 clear goals. Now, get it up them. I hate them, Paris Saint-Germain, because of who they're sponsored by, where their money comes from. But there's no getting away from the fact it was the most dominant performance there has ever been in the final of the European Cup or the Champions League. And about 12 minutes into that game, the first goal of the game is scored by Achraf Hakimi, the Moroccan international. I think he's just come back from injury to start playing for Morocco at home in AFCON over there in Africa. But he's over there in the Maghreb. But he scored the opening goal, 12 minutes, overlapping wing back. And he scored against Inter. And didn't he celebrate because he played for Inter for 2 minutes? I mean, come on. I mean, it's the opening goal in the Champions League final, and you're doing the all kind of, I won't celebrate, total respect and all that. How long were you there? But anyway, if you've watched Mad Men, you've got to be happy for the marketing company that look after Under Armour. I've got the Under Armour contract. Don Draper worked an absolute doozy for that one there, because not only I don't know if they did a few teed up. Maybe there was different Under Armour adverts teed up, and it's just like, if any of these guys that we've got for PSG scores the first goal, make that the advert at half time. But the timing was absolutely brilliant. And plus the advert itself was pretty good. It was black and white. It was shot in black and white, and a lot of footage of Hakimi with his toe off and all that, because a handsome, ripped, athletic dude. And kind of brooding stuff where he's got the leather jacket on and all that, and I think he's wearing a big chain and stuff like that. He's looking like a man about town. But the whole time he didn't notice there was this thing going on in the black and white advert where they've got the shadow of the Eiffel Tower above him. Being cast down onto the floor below him, because obviously he plays for Paris Saint-Germain. That's a symbol of Paris, is Gustave Eiffel's tower, and the intricate ironwork that makes that up at the end of the advert kind of slowly comes round and combines the shadow of it. It changes shape and it morphs into the two U's, the upside down U and the upright U that make up that become a U and an A for the Under Armour logo. It's a really good. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's the most dominant performance. But the best one, arguably the best club performance, most dominant, I would say, that one has ever seen, and certainly the best footballing performance by a club this season. So that's that. I'm sponsored by all that nonsense, and my name's Alec Anderson. I'm walking backwards for Christmas across the Irish Sea. I'm walking backwards for Christmas, it's the only thing for me. I've tried walking sideways and walking to the front, but people, they just look at me and say it's a publicity stunt. I'm walking backwards for Christmas to prove that I love you. It's the Goons there, the Goons. And remember when Spike Milligan got his award, Lifetime Achievement Award at the Comedy Awards, and Prince Charles, as he was then, sent him a little message, sent him a little congratulatory message, and he tried to do a bit of kind of Goons-like banter because Prince Charles, now King Charles, loved the Goon Show. Spike Milligan central to the whole thing, and he famously replied in kind by calling Prince Charles a sycophantic so-and-so. I can't remember his exact words, but it was funny, and it was very, very anti-establishment. Spike Milligan served in the Desert Rats, I think it was. He certainly served in Africa in the Second World War. So he can say what he wants. He's an absolute genius. His dad was Irish and that kind of thing. Seen as being disrespectful to Britain, but we need a bit of that. Now, Ibrox, it's the first game of the new year that we toast the monarch, and that monarch is now King Charles. So that's my wee toast, that's my wee dedication to King Charles the Third by singing one of his favourite songs. But Alec, it's not the first game of the new year. That's next Tuesday. It's a week's time. We've got Aberdeen at home, but that's usually, I'm sure that's usually when we have a minute's silence for victims of the Ibrox disasters. And we had it tonight. So I'm going to change things up. I'll do my wee tribute to the monarch as opposed to the Loving Cup ceremony. Usually the Loving Cup ceremony, first home game of the new year, but things seem to have changed up. And is that because we're playing Aberdeen next Tuesday? Aberdeen are going to be bringing supporters along to Ibrox for the first home game of the year. We don't want to have a minute's silence. We're there in the ground. And I have to say thank you to the St Mirren supporters. I think that's terrible if that's the case. I think that's absolutely out of order if that's the case. I have to say a big thank you to St Mirren fans tonight, because all but one of them totally respected that minute's silence for the victims of the Ibrox disaster this evening. I think far too many of our fans are ready for opposition fans to trash a minute's silence, because we're right in there. We're ruining it as well when we react to that. That's what we don't know. But from what we've gathered, on the night you could see the St Mirren fans were more upset about one of their own shout. I think he shouted out, "Come on, the Saints," or something like that during the minute silence, and that's the problem with minute silences. It just takes one person to ruin them, because everybody else is silent and nobody stands back and thinks, well, we just heard one guy shouting something. That means that every single other one of those opposition fans were being totally respectful. Let's give the praise there. It's a thing that's happened in society these days, where it's any one particular member of a race or something like that does something wrong, that suddenly represents everybody in that race or that social group, that clan, whatever it is. So I saw the St Mirren supporters were going mental at the guy. They got the police in there straight away to get him huckled, and somebody in front of me the night was showing me footage apparently from the St Mirren, from the away corner tonight. They were actually, I think they were knocking the shit out of the guy as well, the St Mirren supporters. So total respect to the bodies there. Don't blame them for that at all. It's just one of these things. There's always somebody who's pissed and doesn't know what they're doing. But I think it's out of order if that's why we're having the minute silence tonight, as opposed to the first home game of the new year, just because it's Aberdeen. We shouldn't let these people control things. Anyway, my name's Alec Anderson, and I am here to talk to you about Rangers beating St Mirren by 2-1 in our last game of 2025 here at Ibrox, and that means the battle for third place is really hotting up. The battle for third place is getting really interesting. It's the only battle of any interest in the top flight this season in the 2025-2026 SPFL Premiership. We leapfrogged Motherwell by beating them 1-0. On Saturday, we took away their third place crown. We went over the top of them, and we've held on to it tonight. We've just held on to it by the skin of our teeth, despite the fact Motherwell have also won tonight. So they're still right behind us. They've played a game more than us, but they're 2 points behind. And I think the goal difference is at least level with ours, if not maybe one goal better. There's not a lot in it at all. It's neck and neck. And now we've got Celtic coming at us from the other side. Celtic are coming from above. They're coming down at us as well. They're only 3 points away from us. They're closing in as well. For their side of things, Celtic, they want our third place crown. No, you're not getting it. It's really interesting. Rangers beat St Mirren by 2-1 to end the year in fine fettle and set ourselves up absolutely perfectly for this trip to Parkhead on Saturday. Or maybe it's just a set-up. Maybe let me say set up. The whole thing's just a set-up. Celtic are they're actually concentrating in the derby, because psychologically that will count for more for them to actually win that game. Especially if we go there thinking, I think we're now in a situation where if we beat Celtic by 3 goals on Saturday, which is a lot to ask for. It's been a wee while since we've won by 3 goals at Parkhead. Pedro Mendes. If we go there and win by 3 goals, I think we go above Celtic in the league, which is their only target. That's the only target for Rangers ever. So I think that means everything's fine. If we go, there can't be anybody else above them, is there? There can't be anybody else above them. We are 3 points behind Celtic now, and at the halfway point of the league season, and we're only 6 points behind Hearts, who now we have no games in hand over. It's all panning out quite excitingly. So what happened tonight? The starting 11, I don't know what's happened with John Sterling. Not on the subs bench, not a lot of chat about it. There'll be something, I don't know if the managers, I've not seen the manager's pre-match chat that he usually gives to Rangers TV that goes out on the Rangers YouTube channel, so I need to look into that. I don't know if John Sterling's just been completely rested ahead of the trip to Parkhead, and Danny Röhl was doing that thing that he loves to do, which is just rotate. It's all about players' fitness, and he usually doesn't pay much attention to the league table or the score or how the game's going in any particular game. He just is going to rotate these players, and that's all there is to it. And that had a lot of bearing on how just unnecessarily exciting tonight's game got towards the end. But the starting 11 was John Souttar starting again. I wasn't sure John Souttar was going to start. I'm just getting a few minutes at the end of the game. One of the examples I'm talking about, was an example on Saturday when we're beating Motherwell by 1-0, only by a single goal. Motherwell consistently coming at us, and we decide to bring on John Souttar for his first game in, 6 weeks? Something like that. At centre half, and he's just pitting the ball straight out for a try from the middle of his own box and dragging guys down for a good foul actually in the halfway line. But you're thinking, should we not have waited until we're winning a game by 2 or 3 goals? Danny Röhl just thinks we're never going to be winning a game by 2 or 3 goals, especially at Ibrox. Let's just get the subs on just now. So John Souttar starts the game tonight. He's alongside FERNANDEZ, and there's no sign of John Sterling. Tav, I thought it was going to be Max Aarons at fullback, but no, Tav's in there. Back in, I thought he's looking really tired these days, James Tavernier, but the manager obviously trusts him. In he goes, and Jade Magoma at left back. I don't have a problem with Tav starting, I love Tav. And the sitting two in midfield, I thought Connor Barnes was certain to start, but no, this is what Danny Röhl does. There's always a strange rotation, there's always an unexpected rotation, and it was Diamandi in there alongside. I think it was a 4-2-3-1. We'll discuss that. Diamandi's in there instead of Connor Barron, I thought, is the other man sitting next to Nico Raskin in the sitting two in midfield. We then have AASGAARD does start again. I was saying this last night. I wanted to have go away Mikey Moore on the left hand side, JD Gasmat on the right hand side, and I would keep AASGAARD for his physical presence, because Motherwell, not a physical team. Just a kind of diminutive but really, really fast, tricky team. But he did well. He scored the only goal of the game, AASGAARD, on Saturday. So I wanted him back in tonight for his physical presence against St Mirren, who are bruisers. Stephen Robinson's sides are bruisers. So I wanted him in there at 10, and he was. And I wanted Bojan Miovski, but we went with Youssef Chermiti is the one up front. Again, that worked. Big man had a great game tonight, Chermiti. And AASGAARD didn't do too bad either. They're both getting better. This is the Danny Röhl effect. These players are just slowly improving all the time. Players that you just thought you'd never see again when we got a new manager in after the Russell Martin disaster. But Danny Röhl is getting a tune out of these guys. And I was supposed to say, somebody said in a podcast, I don't know who it was Heart and Hand, is it a Canadian fella, American fella? Heart and Hand, the Heart and Hand free pod that I listened to once, and the fella said, it's a couple of weeks ago, so you'll know who he is, but it said that Danny Röhl's no getting a tune out of these players, but he's getting a rhythm out of them. I thought that's a beautiful, that's one of the lines of the season from any Rangers podcaster. He absolutely nailed it. But I thought Bojan Miovski would start, but no, we went with big Chermiti. I think it was a 4-2-3-1. I don't know. It might have been a 4-1. Raskin was definitely doing all the sitting in front of the back four. It might have been a 4-1-2-3 with big. I think Diamandi was pushing up so much that it could have been both him and AASGAARD playing as, was it 8s or 2 10s? Maybe they were up kind of behind the front line. I felt as if AASGAARD was more likely to be in a kind of 10 position, but he was all over the place, as was Diamandi. And Mikey Moore, say, in the left-hand side, as Gassama on the right-hand side, and Big Chermiti was either up front on his own or in a line in the middle of the three there, but they were very fluid, moving about a lot. But the game itself, we were a bit more up for it when it kicked off than we were against Motherwell, a bit more sharp. But again, the most interesting thing that was happening, the kind of opening salvos of this game at Ibrox, same as the Motherwell game, was the score from a Celtic away game. It was kicking off, it was getting played at the same time, finding out that they had gone behind, as they did twice to Livingston in the early stages on Saturday. They went behind, I think, fairly early on to Motherwell tonight at Fir Park. Celtic were kind of hoping Motherwell could do us a favour, but it's only so much of a favour is the way the game would pan out. We've still got to be as fearful of Motherwell, I think, as we are of Celtic just now. But I think it was a real testament to the year 2025, a real tribute to the year 2025 that Rangers waited until, I think, minute 25 before they had their first kind of proper chance on goal. I think that was the one where Mikey Moore has the shot that their goalkeeper, St Mirren goalkeeper, pushes onto the crossbar when it meets the far post. There was a chance which Nico Raskin somehow managed to sclaff past the post. That might have come just before that. There was something else happened, but generally we looked kind of up for it. We're a lot more awake. We weren't getting dominated the way we were by Motherwell in the opening quarter of an hour on Saturday. But at the same time, we weren't exactly penetrating, really. We want to attack him with a lot of menace. Generally tonight, I think with Danny Röhl's first choice team, and the problem tonight came when we started making a lot of substitutes, a lot more substitutions, started rotating the team properly, probably too early. But generally, I think I always worry when we're going to Parkhead, because Celtic will always come at you absolutely crazy style. Remember, it's getting hammered twice by Postecoglou's Celtic. Under Gio, they just come at you all guns blazing. Celtic have always been like that, especially against us at Parkhead, and you worry if Rangers are up for that kind of thing. But I think we did actually, probably our best start to a game under Danny Röhl was when we lost 2-1 at Tynecastle. The first 20 minutes, half an hour of that game, we didn't let the crowd intimidate us. We got up for it. We weren't perfect, of course. We were unlucky not to take the leads. VAR decision, chopping off what we thought was the first goal of the game for ourselves. But we're quite up for it then, but we're going to have to be more up for it than we generally are at Ibrox in particular. Still really slow starters generally. Tonight we were aware, we looked sharp, we looked switched on, but without in any way trying to blow St Mirren away. It's like we knew this was going to be a battle from the word go. And I say, only beat St Mirren 2-1, they're doing the bottom end of the table. I think that's deceptive. St Mirren putting all their energy into winning only the 5th major trophy of their entire history. I think it's a deceptive league position for them. And say they beat Celtic, I was saying in the preview pod, they beat Celtic and Hearts, the two teams that are above us in the league. They beat the two of them on the way to winning that League Cup, did St Mirren. So they don't fear us at all. It's their first win over them. And I think that's 5 attempts, their first win over them. They were going for their first ever back-to-back wins at Ibrox, St Mirren, the first in their history tonight. And it turned out they weren't a million miles away. So I think we have to just take the win. But Rangers knew, they realised this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a grind. And it was concentration. It was work rate. There wasn't a lot of sublime skill going on. Really confusing moment. We know that the nonsense with the treatment of the minute silence by an individual St Mirren fan, which, as I say, the St Mirren fans themselves dealt with in-house. And then there was this really strange bit. I thought it was David Dickinson. Myself and the guy next to me, we thought, is that David Dickinson refereeing Rangers at Ibrox again? Oh no, the Celtic fans will be giving it. That's what you get when you don't give Rangers a penalty. You don't give Rangers a penalty, you immediately, the SFA Masonic conspiracy tells you get him back on the next Rangers game at Ibrox. But as a fellow, was it Ryan Lee? A very young man's name. Anyway, he just fair distance. I've actually had my text in for Specsavers saying I need to go back for my eye test is overdue. But from a distance, he did look like David Dickinson again. But St Mirren were trying to own him. You know, Stephen Robinson's side is very streetwise. They like to get under your skin if they possibly can, ruin your concentration. They were winning free kicks and winning the odd corner. I think they won the first corner of the game, winning shies. And the fella, the Republic of Ireland fella who wears number 88 for St Mirren, I'm sure that's the year his dad was born or something like that. It's no, you surely wouldn't have the Celtic foundation year as your squad number when you're playing for anybody other than Celtic. But he was kind of trying to noise up the crowd, and folk were biting and all that and slowing it down, taking ages to take their free kicks and their throw-ins, trying to break up the flow of the game. And Rangers didn't let that get to them, but there was an incident where a St Mirren player took a bit of an injury over on the far side from me. I'm in the main stand, he was over at the Govan stand side, and we were just like, come on, let's go on it, let's go on it. And the guy gets up on his feet, and then the trainers come on and give him a bit of attention, and we're kind of like, get him off the park so we can get on with the game. But not only did they get him up to his feet, as the referee's about to say, time to get off the park, but he then walks from the Govan right across the pitch, instead of just going off at that side of the park. He's then allowed to walk right over. I think the referee actually said to him, you should go off that side. And they've just went, no, we're just going to walk right across the park here and just hod the game up completely. Because I think we had a corner. I think we went to take a corner or a shy deep in the St Mirren half of the park. The referee then, he just kind of, all right, okay. And it was as if they were allowed to bully him. So we had a corner, because what then happened is the second he got off the park and we were allowed to take the corner, their substitute just ran on without his shirt on. They decided to sub him. Sub off this fella. His injury is obviously genuinely serious, but they said to throw on their substitute straight away without the referee's permission, without checking with the fourth official, without checking with the linesman or anything like that. The referee's just walked, and I thought they were going to let him do it as well. Didn't even have his shirt on. He's walking in his white Under Armour gear. But the ref makes him go back for a cursory check. But I thought St Mirren are going to bully the ref. They're going to bully this ref. So it's good that Rangers weren't going to let them bully us at that point in the game anyway. And I think that was the corner that it leads to. I think it was a short corner from Tav to see, I'm starting to lose it. It's freezing. It's absolutely freezing at Ibrox tonight, and it's something I've noticed doing these podcasts. I've got the hat on, I've got a couple of extra layers on. I need to get gloves. If you want to just have a whip round there and get me one, the wee fingerless gloves that tramps like myself wear. But it goes back to JD Gassama over the right hand side, and he whips in an absolutely brilliant ball, and you could just see it happening. It's AASGAARD right in the middle. I don't think he's marked very well, big fellow AASGAARD, and he goes, nods it in. I'm slagging him. I was being a bit bitchy about him in his post-match presser, AASGAARD, after scoring the only goal against Motherwell, where he just was saying, oh yeah, this will stand me in good stead, all the abuse I'm taking from the Ibrox crowd, it will stand me in good stead later in my career. It was just like, I'm going to move on. I'll be moving on shortly. I'm too good for this place. But fair play to him. He gets another start again tonight, having scored the only goal on Saturday, and then he goes and he scores the opener 2 in a row. Not often you see that for a Rangers player. Scoring in 2 different games at 2 ends of the park, both at Ibrox, fantastic. That's us open to scoring. Stops things getting too edgy. Was there any more? I had another chance just right after that. We nearly hit them for 2 in the space of a minute, but I can't actually remember what happened. My brain's starting to freeze up. It's been a long, hard year, and I'm absolutely starving for a bit of Lindor chocolate or something like that, and a can of a hazy IPA. But that was us. And half time, winning 1-0. I took the chance to go for it. I took the chance and I went for a pie and a bovril at half time, but we've not got any bovrils. I'll have a tea then. We don't have any teas. Jesus Christ. What have you got? I've got hot chocolate or coffee. I'll take a coffee then, pal. And then it couldn't. I got that in a steak pie. That's this time of year is the only time of year that I go for a pie at half time, believe it or not. I go to pay it 3 times. I tried to hit the card, £8.50 or something like that. And eventually the boy just says to me, don't worry about it, nobody's been getting the card payments haven't been getting taken all night. So Rangers have either done me for 3 times £8.50, he says, unable to work it out mentally, or I've got a free pie. I'm still getting the free gravy on Saturday after the Motherwell game, and then I've got a free pie and coffee the night. This is what's going to have to happen. It's obviously been really lucky on both occasions. Give Alec free food if you want Rangers to win. So that was me. Come back second half. Apart from the change that St Mirren had already made during the first half, there was no changes. John Souttar was good. John Souttar was good defensively in the first half. He was first to any balls into the box. And you get a lot of that with St Mirren. Big players, they're always getting balls into the box any means possible. Shies, fouls, free kicks, corners, punt up the park, whatever they can manage. And John Souttar was clearing everything, but he had a moment of poor distribution with about 10 seconds of injury time left in the first half that we got away with. And he did the same early on in the second half. In St Mirren, we didn't look up for it. We didn't look as if we were mentally prepared for what was obviously going to happen with St Mirren. No time wasting from them now. They're no slowing things down. They just went for the jugular straight away and nearly caught us off guard. Jack Butland, a wonderful, I think it was a double save. It's up the other end of the park, and my Specs, the prescriptions rang. Now I'm going to have to go back to Specsavers, obviously. So, but it looked like a fantastic double save. Certainly one brilliant point blank save again. Jack Butland, another guy I've been a bit bitchy about earlier on this season, through his Rangers career, really. Swore I'd never slag him again after what he did in Bruges, though, to keep it down to just 6-0. So, did well on 4 fantastic saves on Saturday, and even then I was complaining about his post-match press. He just seemed so serious. He seemed kind of like his starting position, Jack Butland, when he's talking to the media, all that seems to be, I'm amazing. So if something goes wrong, it's seismic. You know, he's almost taking himself too seriously. He's taking things too seriously. But maybe that's how he gets himself psyched up. That's how he's got to the position he's in. He's played for England. He's played for Great Britain. He's played for Rangers. He's been on the books at Man United. So no bad career he's had. But I was kind of slagging him, saying he needs to chill out a bit after his pressure post-match on Saturday. Despite his fantastic saves, he's come out tonight again and had a great game, Jack Butland. That was fantastic. I think it was actually ruled offside. The whole move was ruled offside anyway. That's fantastic. Something else went on in that period. St Mirren had another chance, but Rangers go up the park. There's a nice bit of interplay between Chermiti and JD Gassama. I think it wins as a corner. And this is what's happened with Rangers. We're organised. We've got shape now under Danny Röhl. There's no flowing moves. There's a lot of possession. We have moments of keeping possession of the ball, but there's very little kind of spectacular flair or mesmeric or mercurial moments. Mostly you get them in shots. We did really well against Kilmarnock. Away from home against Kilmarnock was some lovely football. But in games, especially at Ibrox, that's another 1-goal win. Beating Motherwell by 1 goal. And Saturday beat Hibs by 1 goal. The Monday before that at Ibrox, we beat Livingston by 1 goal. You know, it's we're just doing enough, which is more than we expected to ever see from this squad after the way they were playing or not playing under Russell Martin. But it's organisation, it's effort, it's endeavour, and tonight it was a lot of concentration as well from the word go, which is really impressive. And it's accuracy. The one thing we have above other teams that is getting us up that table is accuracy, rather than, as I say, kind of mercurial, overpowering skill. And big Youssef Chermiti, I wasn't wanting him to play the night, but I think it was Gaz or Andy, sorry boys, I came out talking to 2 years a day, on the old posts, the feedback posts under the preview pods, and one of you, sorry, that's terrible, I can't remember who it was saying that, well, maybe we need big Chermiti tonight because St Mirren are bruisers, and I thought that's a good point. On my part, I get it for the folk that write into the pod anyway. And it worked tonight. It was a good, they did play Chermiti, and he was fantastic. Him and AASGAARD a couple of times. It wasn't tidy, it wasn't pretty, but they were winning physical battles. They were just making it a battle at the back against St Mirren, giving them a taste of their own medicine, which just gave us those vital moments to kind of get a little bit of a foothold up there end of the park, something we haven't been doing in the previous games in 2025 against the Paisley Buddies. So they were doing stuff like that. Big Chermiti, I think he's given up on trying to score. And he's coming back, and he's trying to do stuff around the box. He's trying to assist, and he was great tonight. You can see the big man. He's getting a tune out of Chermiti. He's getting a rhythm out of Chermiti as well. Danny Röhl might be his greatest achievement yet. And he get involved in this little movie. He reads JD Gassama, who is just like a born brilliant footballer. Gassama, I would have him in the team all the time. And he had a lovely little move, an interpassing move with him that wins the corner. And then I can't remember exactly what happened from the corner, but it's Chermiti who plays a lovely ball. Just as St Mirren think they've cleared it, FERNANDEZ hangs back. Big Emmy, the centre-half, another guy that we thought was a waste of time and a waste of money. And Danny Röhl is making him a mainstay of the team, if not a stalwart. And big Chermiti plays the ball. He plays the ball into him. A lovely, educated, skillful, accurate, stylish cross into an outcoming St Mirren defence, and he picks out big FERNANDEZ, who is hung about just enough, and it looks like it'll look scrappy in the telly probably, but it's a lot of skill. A ball coming over the top of a defence, especially for a centre half, to then just kind of take the ball first time and guide it. Take the height out of it, take the air out of it, and just guide it, kind of side foot it into the net, past the goalkeeper. 2-0 Rangers. This is what, it's about 52, 53 minutes, and a big part of me, I'm relieved we've got a second goal. We're 2-0 up. We've got a bit of daylight. Celtic still getting beat as far as we know, and this is going according to plan, but you know it's still too early. You know that St Mirren will fight the whole way. I'm assuming Celtic are going to be fighting the whole way at Fir Park as well. A long, long way to go and everything. at Rangers, we're still playing away. We start to have moments of possession. St Mirren are going for it more and more, but we start making substitutions. What was first? We had AASGAARD, and who else went off? AASGAARD and somebody else went off. We brought on Barron and Aaron's, a kind of rhyming substitution. They come on. I can't remember who we took off. One of them, but Conor Barron goes into midfield alongside Nico Raskin, and he was good, Conor Barron. The kind of thing I'm talking about was we don't have long flowing moves, especially at Ibrox, but with a moment where Conor Barron plays the ball, he gets in there and beats his man to the ball. Kind of tackle come pass to JD Gasma, who I think is just inside his own half to stay onside, and he then goes on a long run, kind of outpacing and outwitting 2 or 3 St Mirren midfielders and defenders, and he gets to the edge of the box, and I think he manages to win a corner from the shot that he has. But that was as close as we came to kind of really piling in on their goal on a regular basis. And then we brought on St Mirren won a penalty. St Mirren won a penalty around about the 72nd, 75th minute somewhere. Remember the VAR thing? Rangers had been in the St Mirren box and St Mirren were on our box, and it got cleared, and I thought someone got flagged for offside or that. St Mirren were offside or something. But anyway, just out of nowhere, it's that thing where the referee stops the game, VAR check, and we knew it was going to be in our box, and it's a penalty to St Mirren. You're thinking, this is too early. If they get one now, you can see them coming back to 2 each, because the game is starting to swing St Mirren's way in terms of momentum, in terms of pressure. Jack Butland again. Is it Fraser, the St Mirren captain, takes the penalty, and Jack Butland just saves the thing. All in orange tonight, Big Jack. He's always changing his outfit. And it was a cracking save, and we get it cleared. And that's that. You're thinking that's got to have killed them off. We've got to seize the momentum from this and go and get a third and just wrap this up, and then we can all worry about how Celtic are getting on at Fir Park. It didn't happen like that. We took off Chermiti and brought on, was it Majowski at that point? No, we brought in Danilo. That was the guy. We brought in Danilo, who's just doesn't have the pace anymore, Danilo, and I don't think he's a really good impact sub either. I think he needs to start the game, and even then, it's just no working for his legs have gone. So that took away the physical threat. We took off AASGAARD as well, so there was the physical threat was now completely gone up front, and we couldn't keep the ball up front. And then we took off, I think it was at the same time as Danilo come on, we took off John Suter, who was needing a rest, but there's no Dujon Sterling to come on in his place. Nsiala comes on. Nsiala, who was eaten alive by St Mirren at the beginning of this year at Ibrox. For the 2 goals they scored that day, just bullied off the ball, and that was Philip Clement sacked for more than just that game alone. But on he comes, and I'm thinking, I don't know, Clinton Nsiala still fills me with fear. I don't know if it's his fault or whatever, but I think it was a St Mirren corner, if not if not a free kick. But they swing the ball into the box, and I think it's Mikhail Mandron. He's totally unmarked. He's a guy you can't really miss the size of him, but he's kind of basically unmarked, it seemed, from where I was, and he puts it in. I think Jack Butland might have a good save to start with, but it goes in anyway. It looked pretty simple from St Mirren's point of view, pretty negligent from our point of view, and they didn't let up. That was about 8 minutes of normal time to go. There's 4 minutes of injury time. We brought on Finlay Curtis as well. We just weren't getting up the park. We weren't holding the ball up the park. But we dug in, we got away with it. I don't know, and the balance of play, we certainly deserve to win, and it's now, that's 11 league games under Danny Röhl, and he has won 7 of them. 7? Drew 2, no, won 8 of them. He's won 8. Didn't he get another one of his clean sheets tonight, despite all Jack Butland's best efforts? But when we're winning so many games and so many of them by a single goal, it's no accident, it's no fluke, it's no jammy. We did the business, and we've finally managed to beat St Mirren at the last attempt in 2025, and that's all set up, folks. It's all set up for this trip to Parkhead on Saturday, on the 3rd of January. Would you ever have thought we were going to be in this situation? When, say, October, when Russell Martin was sacked at the beginning of October, or even before that, do you ever think we're going to be in a situation where we could actually win this title, where we could, hopefully we're going to get a few players in the door from the day after tomorrow? get them a day's training, a day's acclimatisation, and then take them along to Parkhead, and hopefully they can make a difference to this team. We need somebody. We need backup at this point in time because we've got so many injuries. The central defence is a bit of a worry, I would say. Central defence is a bit of a worry at this moment in time. I need to know what happened with John Sterling tonight. It might just be Danny Röhl saying, "No, you need a complete rest. I'm not even going to put you in the squad," because he does that. He just dares. He just dares to treat the recovery that players need, like taking John Souttar off the night, putting Clinton Insiala on. Doesn't matter. We win the game anyway, so he's been proved right. But he doesn't care. It's just the treat to make these players healthy, fit again, to look after their recovery. It's almost like he runs that through the games parallel to what's happening on the park. It's separate from what we actually require on the park at the time. It's like he's blending, as all good head coaches should, the long term with the immediate term. And it gets quite worrying at times. But he's a gambler, he's bold, he's brave, and we hope that Parag Marathi and Andrew Kavanagh will back him up for that. Man of the match tonight has to be Jack Butland. Has to be Super Jack Butland in goals. He's phenomenal, and he's central, I would say, to my review. Let's have a wee capsule review of the year 2025. In the year 25-25, it sounds like it's the B-side to the Zager and Evans one-hit wonder from the summer of '69. In the year 25-25, another one of these songs from my dad's Reader's Digest compilation albums of great songs of the 50s and 60s. Which he used to play all the time. My dad had solid art. He had all the Stones, the actual albums, and like Johnny Cash and Ray Charles and stuff like that. It was good. Everybody's allowed a greatest hits. Everybody's allowed a compilation album. Truth be told, that's the way most of us get into any artist that we like. But my dad, it was just all the songs that he used to hear when he was a kid. He got this Reader's Digest compilation thing, and some of the songs on it are absolutely fantastic. When he used to get a few drinks in them, he would put that on overnight, and my sister and I would be lying in our beds just giving, that's brilliant, no? And it was Zager and Evans, in the year 25-25, if man is still alive. And it's felt like that, the year 2025, in which we have had, I would say, if you include Stevie Smith, 5 different managers. We have 5 different managers / head coaches in the year 25-25. I say we started after the year with one of our best results, beating Celtic 3-0 at Ibrox, another highlight. In the year 25, it's a little bit, I'll just do a quick review of the year 25-25 because it's the last pod of 25-25 from myself. Is it 2025 even? See, it's cold, and the memories are flooding back. It's a drink-heavy time of year, time of the calendar, and the jeans obviously soaked with the grouse and the Black Label, the Johnny Walker Black Label that my dad would drink, and it's getting me all mixed up with his albums and the music that he'd listen to. And it's 2025, it's 25-25, but usually it's the end of the season. You do a review of the season. That's a football thing, but a brief review of what has been a pretty tumultuous calendar year, featuring many highs and many troughs of a historic nature. Because we started off the year beating Celtic 3-0 here. That was Philip Clement's first win over Celtic. Absolutely tremendous. We needed that. That was going to change things for Philip Clement. We then go to Old Trafford. One of my highlights of my life supporting Rangers, even though we lost the game and in painful circumstances, but equalising in the 88th minute against Man U Old Trafford. That's Cyril Dessers' goal, the ball for Tav. A game where where players were dropping like flies. We started off with a really patched up first 11, and then we're bringing on young boys during the game. I think the substitutes were getting injured and stuff like that as well. Tav's playing at centre half, and he just sends this beautiful cultured ball, and big Harry Maguire gets turned inside out by the brilliance of the ball from Tav, and the take and the turn from Cyril Dessers, and the way he hit that ball. Just the Rangers in all blue, and just the ramrod straight diagonal shot right into that bottom corner. I'll never forget just seeing that ball nestling in the bottom corner of that net. We've scored against Man U at Old Trafford in European competition, and it was bloody amazing, even though we lost the game. Even though it's a very ordinary Man U side by their own standards. They did get to the final, Man U, but that was something else. And then to beat Union St Gilloise for the second time and finish 8th in the Europa League. Different level altogether. A phenomenal achievement. Rangers again doing brilliantly in the first instance of being in a new group stage as we did in the 92-93 Champions League. Couldn't believe that night. We beat Union St Giles was 2-1, and folk are just saying we've actually finished 8th, by the way. We've qualified. We've missed out the next round, which meant we were going to be able to relax. We're going to be able to relax, and it's going to help our domestic campaign because we're going to get a couple of midweeks off, and we then suffer one of the two worst results in our history that happened in this year. 2025, we get beat by Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup, and they have like one shot on goal, Queen's Park. And that's the only goal of the game in target. And it's the first time we've ever lost at Ibrox in the Scottish Cup to opposition from a league lower than the one we're currently in. And it was devastating. One of those. I remember I was freezing. I was chittering and shivering in that post-match reaction pod, and it was nothing to do with the cold. That was back at the beginning of February, and many folk thinking that should be it for Philip Clement. And I said to myself, it's a sacking offence whether he gets sacked or not. That's the thing. We go to Tynecastle, win 3-1. The following game, win 3-1, even though we played badly, and then we get beat 2-0 at home by St Mirren, and Philip Clement is gone. The Philip Clement dream is over. He had to go at that point in time. And that was the start of a record run, something never seen before. Another poor record we set this year, an awful record. 6 straight games at Ibrox without a win for Rangers. The two of them included the 0-0 with Athletic Club Bilbao, which was a phenomenal night. A beautiful tifo from the Union Bears in the Copeland of the UEFA Cup trophy. It's a European quarter-final, a second European quarter-final in 4 seasons for Rangers. Phenomenal achievement. We go down to 9 men in the game, and we still a really valiant draw. Penalty saves as well. Penalty missed. Liam Kelly in goals. We're down to 9 men by the end of the game, and we're holding on for a 0-0 in the first leg against Athletic Club of Bilbao, the club that are hosting the final. And it's just one of the great names of European football and a massive institution of the money-laden Liga in Spain. A great night, a really great night. But even that was also one part of that poor run at Ibrox, that record-breakingly bad run of not winning at Ibrox, was the night we get beat 2-0 at home by Fenerbahce. What a night in Istanbul and Karaköy on the Asian side of the Bosphorus, where we won 3-1, going on 5-1 against Fenerbahce. Phenomenal we were. I need to stop. I need to find another word. Get some synonyms for phenomenal, because you could have used every one of them for that performance against Jose Mourinho, the guy who's won all the European trophies. I had an involvement in winning all 4 European trophies as a translator at Barcelona at the time they won the Cup under Bobby Robson. But he's what a manager, what an absolute legend of the game, Jose Mourinho, on the downslope of his career now. But we go over there, and Barry Ferguson taking over as interim manager gives him a footballing lesson in his own patch. We were tremendous, and the night at Ibrox they beat us 2-0. It goes to extra time, no away goals rule now, and winning on penalties. Jack Butland again. Jack Butland, who I have slagged to the high heavens at times for Rangers. The number of highlights he has for Rangers as well is very, very impressive, and it was great that night. He basically won that penalty shootout on his own. A great night at Ibrox. The whole place just united. Celebration. We're in a European quarter-final again, and we went out really unfortunate to go out. A lot of controversy with the way Athletic Club won the game in Bilbao. Only 2-0. We go down the away leg in the quarter-final. Heads held high. Rangers' European reputation enhanced again. That's not how it would end in the year. We lost to Queen's Park. I think we lost, and Barry Ferguson takes over. He wins 4-2 at Robbie Park in his first game, as having gone 2 goals down. Clinton and Ciala featuring heavily that one. There's Barry. He comes in, does a great job though, because but we lost 2-1 at home to Motherwell, and then 2-0 at home to Hibs, or 2-1. We lost these games. And by the way, the Motherwell manager, this is my preview pod last night, I can never remember if he's Austrian or German. His name's Michael Wimmer, it'll be pronounced. And I was talking about Charles Bronson in the Death Wish movies in my post-match reaction pod after the Motherwell game. Michael Winner, sounds like Michael Winner, the director of the Death Wish movies. Michael Wimmer, he's German, he's Bavarian, but he'd been manager of Austria Vienna. So maybe that confused me as well. He says as an excuse to get himself off with it. But he came Ibrox, his only trip to Ibrox, a temporary Motherwell manager, and wins. We lost to Queen's Park, we lost to Hibs, we lost to Motherwell, we lost to somebody else. Who else beat us? That'd be Fenerbahce. I think there's another. We only drew 0-0 with Athletic Club. Was it just 5 games? Was it? I think somebody else has beaten us. Oh, St Mirren. St Mirren, the game that got Clement sacked. So it was 5 straight defeats, 6 games without winning at Ibrox. 6 would be a number that feature in another low. Russell Martin takes over. We go to. So we should probably mention the biggest thing that's happened to us in 2025, and the thing that I think will turn 2025 into a year that ultimately will be seen as 1985 was a terrible year for Rangers, but that was when Lawrence Marlborough took full control of the club and started the moves that are going to take us back to ultimately towards 9 in a row under David Murray and what have you. I'm hoping that we'll look back the same way in 2025, 40 years later. Again, Hearts challenging for the title in 85, 86. Same thing, 25-26, we have a massive takeover. Lawrence Marlborough, Nevada. These guys, it's San Francisco, the 49ers. San Francisco via Leeds. 49ers Enterprises, Andrew Kavanagh, Parag Marathi, just completely revolutionises things. The previous board doing fantastically to make this happen, to get us to the point where this could happen. £75 million takeover, £90 million I've heard as well. Then there's the investment, £30 million to play. And as all good Rangers people, myself, I'm going to include in that as well. You're patient with those that are there. You give folk a chance. You don't want to go in and totally rip things up carelessly. And they let Kevin Thelwell carry on. They let Patrick Stewart carry on as CEO. They bring in Russell Martin. No, that's fine. Russell Martin's he's going to do the Ange Postecoglou thing. It's all out attacking football. Let's run over the top of this. Of the top of Scottish football, we're always complaining about the fact we can't beat the low block. All these wee Mickey Mouse teams who suddenly seem to be coming out as all out attacking us, Motherwell out possessing us on Saturday, just proving the fact that Russell Martin's style was gone and it was based on a bogus idea of what the opposition was like in the domestic system, the domestic setup. It was a disastrous tenure. I kept waiting for it to kick in. We were told by people from Southampton and Swansea's previous clubs that his style does take a while to kick in. You've got to take a few embarrassing results, but when it does kick in, yes, you will do the business. And he did do the business at Southampton. He got them promoted. But no, it just never kicked in. And by the time it got to the one each draw, he only managed one league win. One of the most salient moments, I say again, in my life as a Rangers supporter, never mind in the year 2025, was when we scored that last-ditch winner at Livingston to beat Livingston by 2-1 for his only league win in 7 attempts, Russell Martin. And the Rangers support immediately started singing Martin, Martin, get to fuck. The Rangers support that takes up 3 sides of the stadium at Almondvale in Livingston. I've never seen Rangers take the lead so spectacular as well in terms of the timing of it. Max Aarons getting his first goal for Rangers. Saving the day, winning the game, our only league win under Russell Martin, their first league win of the season this season, and the Rangers immediately start singing for the head coach to get to fuck. And the fact that Russell Martin himself and his coaching staff were celebrating that late winner as if we'd won the Champions League proved that he wasn't the man for it. That was a real warrior. If nothing that happened before that wasn't enough to worry us. It was enough to tell us that Russell Martin wasn't the man for the job. There's protests outside the stadium. I think it went too far, personally, because Kavanagh and Marathi were never going to be slow to act if it wasn't working. They'll give you a chance, but these guys, they don't mess about. People who make their money in America, people who are given the power, the licence by the 49ers, the 6th richest sporting franchise in the whole planet, to move their stadium. You know, Parag Marathi is responsible for the Levi's Stadium, for getting the 49ers into their new stadium. So this is a guy, these are guys who know what they're doing. So they eventually got rid of Russell Martin, but not until, and I'm talking about things we went through this year, it was beating Panathinaikos in the Champions League, pitting them at the Champions League qualifiers. Phenomenal result. We couldn't believe how we'd done it and the way the game went. A great performance against Victoria Pilsen when we thrashed them 3-0 at Ibrox. Very shaky second leg, but we got through it. And Bruges, Club Bruges, who we'd seen in a friendly, drawn 2-2 with them. We come back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 with them in a pre-season friendly, and back come Club Bruges for the Champions League playoff tie. we thought they'd be too hot for us. We thought they'd be too good for us. An experienced Champions League club now, Club Brugge, but they were 3-0 up, I think, the first 20 minutes at Ibrox in the first leg, and this is going to be an absolute tanking. And it was the first of 2 experiences I had this season of being relieved that we'd only lost by a certain amount. We actually brought it back to 3-1 in the second half, but I think Club Brugge just realised they were so far ahead of us, they just kind of stopped trying in that first leg. But I remember standing in this very spot after that game saying, it's just, we only get beat 3-1. It doesn't look like we're going to go through now. I would say we might lose 3-1 in the second leg, but we've got to give this manager a chance. We've got to give this head coach a chance. Bit of a footballing lesson tonight, but we limited the damage. There's something to be said for that. We went over to Britain. We've had the worst ever Scottish Cup defeat. I think it must beat Berwick, because at least the Berwick defeat was in Berwick. And in the same year, we've managed to equal our worst ever European defeat. And Liverpool beating us 7-1 at home, Real Madrid beating us 6-0 in the Bernabeu. This is only the third time. We've never lost by a game by more than 6 goals in Europe. This is the third time it happened. And this is to a club that wasn't of the standing of Real Madrid and Liverpool. Their standing, they were Champions League finalists, European Cup finalists at the times we played them, and lost by 60, the two of them. Club Brugge haven't been in a European final for best part of 50 years. So as good as they are, Max Aarons, we lost him early on in Bruges. The manager refused, the head coach refusing to change our stupid style, our theory-based style. And I honestly thought it's the first time in my life. When the Celtic beat us 5-0 at Parkhead that time to win the league, we got rid of Graham Murray just before Steven Gerrard arrived. I've never really understand why they didn't push for more that day. I think they kind of took their foot off the gas at 5-0 that day at Parkhead. But this is the most terrified I have ever been. Only the second time, maybe the third, Liverpool beating us 7-1 that night. I thought we could lose 10 here. We're going to lose. It looked most likely that we would lose this game by 10 goals. Down to 10 men, and Bruges it was men against boys. It was an all-time low, equalling a statistical low in our European history. But for me, watching Rangers, by the end of the game, I got that false high, because it stayed at 6-0 for so long. They'd wasted so many chances. Bruges, and Jack Butland was phenomenal to keep it down to 6-0 as well. And it was it's like a day or two later before it kicked in, and we still got hammered 6-0 by a team that's not going to win the Champions League. So that was humiliating. That was awful. A sacking offence again, but I think Kavnan Marathi, Thelwell obviously had to back his man, but eventually we get in Danny Röhl. I think he's spoken. I think the way we were rumoured to be getting Steven Gerrard, it was out in the open that we're talking to Steven Gerrard. It was out in the open that we're talking to Kevin Muscat. Neither of the two of them arrived, and I'm glad we got Danny Röhl. I think at the third time of asking, and I still wouldn't be surprised in any way if I found out that was the kind of penultimate straw for Thelwell and Stuart, our CEO and our Director of Football, as far as our new owners were concerned. I don't think that's how they like to do their business. Things getting out in the open, they like it done. And although they backed him up, I think they got Danny Röhl, and they've got a consultant in now, Bjornaby, acting for us just now as we enter into a transfer window without a CEO, without a Director of Football. But I think they used Danny Röhl as a consultant when they got him in, Kavnat Marathi, just to say, look, what do you think of this squad that's assembled? What do you think of these targets he's got lined up for you in the new year? And Danny Röhl has just binned it. He's just trashed the whole thing. It's absolute garbage. What you've got is garbage. What you're planning to get is garbage. And Kavnat Marathi, I've just sacked our CEO and sacked our managing director. Tumultuous stuff, but this is growing pains. This is a big change. I think we're going to be absolutely fine under these guys. They've got so much money, so much business now. We're going to be fine. And Danny Röhl has been magnificent. I must have missed something out. European terms, the run in the Europa League has been awful. The run in the Europa League I found embarrassing, infuriating. Most of it is down to Thelwell and Russell Martin, but to see us in the same calendar year as we finished 8th in the first ever Swiss system 36 team Europa League group, to see us now lucky to be off the bottom of that group. I'll be 4th from bottom, 3rd from bottom of the Europa League with 2 games left in the group stage with 1 point, a single point only two more chances to avoid beating last season's low. I think it was Karabag and Nice finished on 3 points each in last season's Europa League group. So that's been a terrible, awful thing to watch. But watching Danny Röhl steady the ship and just improve this team step on step, increment by increment, and getting us to a situation where even I was thinking, it's going to be fine. It will eventually be fine. Let's get far too much money behind us now and far too much business and sporting acumen in the 49ers enterprises. But even in the beginning of the season, when I thought it's going to be okay under Russell Martin, these guys wouldn't have him in, but they were giving Thelwell and Stewart their heads to choose the head coach. I was thinking, I don't think we're going to win the league this season. We're having to clear out the whole squad and rebuild, but we're going to get there eventually. I don't think we're going to win the league this season, but despite having a disastrous season on top of that, we're now 3 points off the top. We're now 3 points off getting above Celtic, and we're 6 points off the top of the table against a Hearts side. Hearts, a club who haven't won the league for 65, 66 years. So it's incredible. Such an amazing turnaround just through the lack of quality that the Celtic are going through. The kind of same thing we went through with Russell Martin, but seemed determined to make it worse for themselves. It's quite incredible. But yeah, it's what a year it's been. A tumultuous year. It's been absolutely mental. And I did the lovely kind of Christmas thing, this Christmas Eve, my last pod before Christmas, just saying how much you guys mean to me for watching the pod, and how much I appreciate all the time you give it, your kind attention to the podcast, and wishing you all the very best, you and your family. Well, we've done that. This is New Year. I've just reviewed Rangers for tonight's performance and for the year's performance. This is your annual review as well, and what you're up to. I've got like 1,400 subscribers, and I'm lucky if I get 1,000 views per podcast now, per pod. There's a guy out there called Walk With Me Tim. Walk With Me Tim, right? I think the comma's implied, but he's a guy out there, and he just goes on holiday to kind of scary places or supposedly haunted places, luxury places. He goes on luxury holidays that are paid for by this. He's got 930,000 subscribers. 930,000. I've got 1,400. Right? Could be more. I've got just over 500,000 views, which I was really proud of, really chuffed with, and I was thanking you guys deeply for that. Just the other month, he's at 212 million views. 212 million. You're going to have to step up your game. You're going to have to get more eyes. Become more people. It's really bad. And he's part of this whole. His angle now is going to places like hotels that are haunted, or hotels that The Shining are based on, and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't even know anything about them. He doesn't do the most basic research. There's a whole genre, just now. I've told you before, I think, about the what's it called? The stealth camping. Folk that go out and do kind of stealth camping, where they'll get a wee bivouac or whatever, and they'll go and camp on a roundabout. On a busy motorway or something, or a busy road. They'll camp in the roundabout at the edge of town, in the bushes and all that, and it's great. And I used to watch these things and find them quite interesting. Or they'll go and camp and the hedge at a McDonald's drive-through. They'll camp the other side of that, and they'll sit and they'll have their wee. They'll boil up their own tea and all that, and have a wee drink while they're sitting and sleeping there all night. And I just think that was quite good. But obviously the whole stealth camping, it became camper van, my camper van life. That's all over YouTube now, folk that camp vans. And I'm always thinking, if they park in the middle of nowhere and that, and you can be anybody outside your camper van, that terrifies me. Any kind of camping really. And sure enough, following on for that, and Walk With Me Tim, this guy Walk With Me Tim, he's trying to get into that market as well, obviously, via luxury holidays. Where it's now, folk, you'll see all these YouTube, but it's a kind of offshoot, it's a sub-genre within the camping camper van genre, and it's all, we had to get out of there. The thumbnails are all the person that's got the YouTube channel in their camping gear, looking pure terrified, and then the video itself, and it'll be a headline like, there was somebody else there, we weren't alone, It didn't feel right. We had to abandon the camp. We had to get out the bothy. There's somebody outside my camper van. And this is the first few have got millions of hits, millions of views. So everybody just copied it. And what they'll do is they'll just stand, they'll take their camera into a forest, and they'll just give it, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait. What's that? No, it's a kind of Blair Witch type vibe. Can you... Did you hear that? Did you hear? Can you hear that? You probably can't hear that, but there's really strange noises coming from You're in a forest, in the middle of the night. There's obviously going to be strange noises. Oh, my dog, they've always got a wee cute dog as well. It's all lifestyle stuff. He's stock still. He's just totally silent. My mother-in-law's dog used to do it. I should take it out for a walk in the middle of the night. She lived right next to a field. I'd take it out for a pee and it would just go. It would hear a fox or something, a mile away, and I would crap myself. But that's no entertainment. That's no. And yet this guy walks with Tim. He doesn't. Last night I'm giving you a full history on all the bad things that Austrian footballers have done to Scottish footballers over the years. Full history. No, I just got most of that in my head, but a bit of basic research to check up and sum it. I'm giving you the full history. But you're like, I sit there and I'm doing the bottom half of the league. They're not doing too well in the league this season. I know that as well, but I go in there and check, they're ninth. They've got so many points, they've won so many games. I get all that researched. This guy, I've got like 1,400 subscribers. It takes me a couple of hours to get all the actual details for these podcasts, the preview pods. And walk with me, Tim. He goes to, he's like, this is the real Shining Hotel. He's in Yosemite, in America. With all his face creams on and all that. He's the same age as me, and he's dressing like an 18-year-old schoolgirl. He's walking about Yosemite, and it's the hotel with the external, the internal shots. It's got the big room and all that. What do you call him? The guy. My brain's completely gone. I can't name one of the most famous actors about it. Jack Torrance. Jack Nicholson, Torrance, Mr. Torrance. Jack Nicholson's in where he's doing all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. He's in that very room and he's giving it. Is that fireplace? I wonder if is that fireplace in the actual film? And he keeps calling it the movie The Shining. In the movie The Shining, and then he goes to. He obviously realises at some point in that holiday, oh no, this is just for the certain rooms that they shot in here, because most it was a studio they built up for Stanley Kubrick built an actual. A set that was based on the inner rooms of that hotel. But then they have exterior shots. There's another hotel altogether. I think that's in Oregon. The exterior shots for the Shining and the film The Shining. But the actual book The Shining, by Stephen King, is inspired by like a third hotel, a different hotel altogether. But he's in there and he's filming it. He's got like 212 million views. He's got like 930,000 subscribers. And he basically does it. He travels all the way to America, goes to 2 different locations in the States to go to these 2 different. All about The Shining, which is a cult classic, a phenomenal movie. And what he does is he goes in. Is this Scott? Is this the? Do you know if that is that fireplace here? Is it in the actual? Is that in the film? In the film The Shining? I don't know, mate. Maybe you want to switch off your phone for a second. Look it up. There's clips here on YouTube. Do this basic research and find out if you've travelled all the way. No, gets like 100,000 views in the first half hour. And what he does, and he's in the various hotels, The Shining, absolutely. He's like, oh, and that's like the lifts that are in the actual film. It is, mate, because it's based on. It's like, and he goes into his room and he goes, oh, look at that, the bath in the bathroom. It's much lower down than a British bath. It seems much closer to the floor than British baths. This is scintillating stuff, pal. This is actually worse than my pot. I mean, I am boring, but Jesus Christ. He's got the material right in front of him, and all he can do is go, oh, I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 3 milks to go with my, and then you've got decaf tea there, and you've got decaf, and that's all laid on for free. The Wi-Fi is not very good. Maybe that's why you don't know anything about what you're talking about, mate. And then the next day he gets up and he goes, well, it cost me this much to stay here. And he shows you all the stuff that's in the buffet. He goes to the buffet that night and shows you all the stuff. He's talking about The Shining. And that's all he can come away with. And eventually, at the end of the pod, he just gives it, oh, and I had a really strange experience last night, I must admit. I didn't see any ghosts or anything like that, but I definitely felt as if there was somebody sitting in my chest, and the sheets are a bit tight, and around your neck, we all have that. And that's just, obviously, the face cream you've put on, it's a bit warm there as well, and you've managed, and the Wi-Fi reception wasn't very good. That's all the stuff he's telling us. If you're doing the stuff in The Shining, I'm spending hours on end getting the basic research on St Mirren. I fit my team in Scotland. You can't even do some of one of the most famous movies. I don't even watch the movie, and you've got 930,000 subscribers. So you're usually going to step up your game as well. It's that's the new year. But obviously, I can't end the year like that. I can't end the year by being horrible to these guys. I just feel as if I'm going through genuinely scary stuff. I don't have to pretend. I'm standing out here, and it is freezing. I'm standing out here, even in the middle of the summer and all that. We've just lost 3 goals in the first 20 minutes to Bruges. Did you see that? I'm not making stuff up. This stuff has happened. Queen's Park did put us out the Scottish Cup with their only shot on goal. and that was and there was like 40,000 other witnesses as well as other folk that are watching on television. There's no doubts in it. It's far scarier than anything my camper van life. A drunk punched my window in at 2 o'clock in the morning because I parked up a lane next to a boozer. What do you think was going to happen then? Anyway, they kind of YouTube videos and they're getting millions of views, and I'm getting just nobody wants to. I'm going through properly scary stuff. Club Brugge just scored 3 goals against us in the first 20 minutes. I think it's going, I'm doing podcasts after we've got beat. And did you see that? Just everybody did see it. It's undeniable. It actually happened. We've just got beat 6-0, going on 12-0 against Club Brugge in the away legs. That's proper scary stuff. I should basically have about 500 million views and 1.5 million subscribers, really, because of the scary, genuinely scary stuff I've been through in this Rangers life in the year 2025, and you all went through it with me as well, folks, and I'm so verbose, I go on too much, but I love it, folks, and the feedback I get from you is absolutely sensational, and it's a kind of superstitious time of year, isn't it? You get the first footing and all that. It's supposed to be a thing when you see the person that you have that comes in the door with a bit of coal and shortbread and all that. Are they supposed to go out the door before? No, you open the window. That's when you open the window before the bells to let the old year out, and you keep it open so the new year comes in just after the bells and that. But basically, since I want to make sure that I better make sure that the last thing I say in this podcast, I'm giving you that's your year review. You've done well, but come on, you need to step up your game. You need to become more people. Get me more money. I need to start getting some luxury holidays, and I'm not going to a Rangers European away leg because they've been horrific. They've been, never mind your camper van nightmares, they've been terrifying. But you need to step up your game. But I want to be nice to you. I need to be nice to you before I end this pod, and I better make sure I don't end this pod on a negative. That like the last word you say on the last podcast of 2025 is something that could end up, affecting, bring bad luck to the next podcast. We'll be going to play Celtic at Parkhead, so I better watch what I'm saying. I better get niceys and watch that the very final word on this podcast is appropriate. The very final podcast from Fat of 2025. Thank you so much, folks. Rangers are looking great. Far better than we could ever have expected the way this season started. But pretty much just as I did expect us to be looking when this season started, because of the most important thing that happened this year, which was the massive takeover, which is something that's just completely going to change our lives and is already in the course of doing so, thanks to Danny Röhl. So thanks for all your help during this tumultuous, turbulent year trips. I really appreciate you all taking the time to watch my pods, and the kind feedback I get from you. Really, it keeps me going. And the only thing I've got to say to you all is when it comes to have an absolutely brilliant, enjoy your Hogmanay and have a fantastic new year. And from 2025 into 2026, all I wish all you guys is peace and love. There you go. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Walk with me, Tim.